Well, we're just getting our mobile suites. We're getting this thing all set up. We've got all the scaffold around it, and we're going to go up there. We're starting to take a couple of things off. You can see that gutter is starting to come off now, but we're going to go up and take a look at it. All right, well, here's our mobile suites. So, there's your typical RV roof. Put more on, more on. I'm guessing those are probably bolted down. Those are probably bolted down through the top. You know, take the cover off the frame. We'll be investigating that. That antenna is going to go, and you know, so I can't remember what year this one is. I don't know what it is. We will find out, I guess. I think it's tempted to say it's like a 2010. Not sure. But they're all the same. So yeah, these are going to be mounted right through the roof. You know, when I say through the roof, meaning the bolt. What you're looking at right there, there's a bolt right here. That's a bolt that goes down. They try to seal it that way. Overall, it doesn't look like the worst roof I've ever seen. So, you know, but it's your typical slobber moron type thing, you know. Just a cheap little rubber roof. So I think he had this one undercover for quite some years, but he's knowing that it needs some attention. You see all the condensation rolling off. So what I don't like about the way these are done, there's a gasket up underneath there. All this dirt, pollen, debris is going to get in there, and it ruins the gasket. Then that's when the gasket fails. Then the roof deck here is going to soak up the water, and then, you know, this I believe it's probably going to have aluminum trusses. So if it was wooden trusses, then the trusses would soak it up, and the insulation soaks it up. By the time you see it in the coach, you've already got a lot of damage. So that's not the proper way to put a roof together. That isn't how it works. So in the whole RV industry is this way. They just do it cheap, and then they come out with all these hacks, all these coatings, all this spray and roll on roof type stuff. They still don't solve the problem. They're just continual hacks because people want to get things done cheap. And they go, I don't care, I just want it done cheap. And then you end up with other issues down the road. So, you know, our goal is to make sure it's done 100%, period. That's what I want. I don't want them to have any issues. But we're going to be making some curbs, and we're going to elevate the air conditioner, the vents, the skylights. We're going to elevate that all up off the roof. And now it'll drain better, because that's the other thing you got to be concerned with. So when all this debris and pollen, when it gets in there, there's a couple of portholes. There's one here, there's one on the other side. And all that, again, twigs or whatever, leaves, they can get up in there and they can clog up those little portholes. If they clog up those little portholes, well, then it's not going to drain well. And then you got water getting blown back into the coach. So we'll show you that, because we're going to take them off and we're going to clean them for sure. So, but like I said, this is your typical RV roof. You know what we're doing, you don't need any self-leveling when we're done. You don't need any self-leveling. It'll be completely done. So this is one we just finished over here, but you can see how that skylight is up on a curb, and you could probably see how that air conditioner is up on a curb. See how it's elevated? That's going to drain a lot better. We're just getting those finished up. That's how it's going to work. And like I said, we'll be getting rid of this here, and you can see somebody's already added some more sausage around the vents. So, all right, well, we're going to clean it all up. But like I said, this doesn't look like the worst roof I've ever seen. Let's see what's going on underneath. That's what we're going to do, is take up all the decking. We're going to take all the insulation out. We're going to check to make sure it's got proper insulation, or enough adequate insulation. And we're going to see if there's any breached duct lines, meaning the tape is bad, or it's detached, or somehow blowing cold air into the roof assembly. The last one we did, the last mobile suites, I think there was about 12 breaches we had to tape up. That's a lot. So you don't want to just go over this and not address those issues. So we'll see what's going on, because if you watch some of my other videos, you'll see it's a common theme. They fall apart. So we're going to check this. You know, every now and again we get ones that aren't as bad as the others, but you know, still, you don't take that for granted because the vast majority of them are, you know, breached somehow. All right, we're going to. Okay, so we got the decking off. This is secured to that truss in there. That plywood is fine. We're not going to replace it. We are going to glue it down and secure it, but there's absolutely nothing wrong. So what I'm going to do is go back in his work order. I'm going to figure out what it would cost for the plywood. I'm just going to give him some money back. Why charge him for stuff that we don't need to do? There's nothing wrong with it. Let's save some money here. So what we're doing now is going around and checking all of these joints where it comes together. You can see this one here. There's another one right there. There's this one here. And this is a common theme. We see this a lot. That's why we take the roofs up to check all this. This one isn't the worst thing I've seen, but it is loose right there. You can see it's just real loose. So we're going to get some more, obviously, on that. So we just get down and keep checking every joint. Then the reason why this is here, this is the wrong size. We're going to get a little thicker, but we want to put it up underneath there to protect that joint so it doesn't slap around. Look at that one there. Now that's actually just almost detached. See? That one's broke. So we're gonna get a piece in there. We're gonna get a piece in here. We'll move it over and put it over there. That's what we're gonna do. Then we got, look at this one here. That one's pretty bad. So we got quite a few already. Almost every joint so far that we've seen. So same thing in the front. Truss is up there. We're going to lift this up and we're going to glue it, and then we're going to just secure it back down. And again, that'll save him some money. And then let's see what we got on the other side. These are things you don't get with a spray or roll-on roof. They're not going to do all this, not unless you specifically ask them to, but their goal is really not to do that, because if they don't have to get in there and get it, then they can just get the roof on, get you out. That's their goal, is to sell product. Get a roof on, get it out. Get a roof on, get it out. They don't want to do all this extra work. You know, this holds a job up. It really does. You can imagine it take us a few minutes to do all this, but let's do it right. So you got another one right here that's broke right there. You can see it over in that corner. So. And so almost all of them have been broke. This one we just taped. This one we just taped. So we got all those, and we got one more down here, it looks like. Not taped. Yeah, we'll get some more on there too. And you can see way down this corner right there. So that's what we're looking for. So once we get all that, then the other thing we look for is wires going through, but they've got some plastic protectors on this one. That's pretty good. I think this is like an 06. This is an older one. They don't really do them very much anymore. This has them here. So we want to check like that over there. I want to check that. Make sure that's not going to compromise the wire at all. You know, that's the goal, is check that out. So we shall be checking all this, and we protect the wires. That's as simple as it is. And obviously retape all the ductwork. So once we're satisfied with all this, then we're going to probably go back with other areas, like maybe this one and this one that we don't have. Well, put a piece of insulation to bridge that, but then some of the other areas, what we're probably going to do is maybe put some blown-in insulation right up underneath there, you know. And although the insulation they use is good, but it's sitting on top. So let's see if we can maybe bring this camera back. Probably get a little bit underneath there, just so it's all in there. I like to get insulation in here if I can, so we're going to see if all that'll work for us. But you can see their insulation down there. I mean, that's good insulation. We've done quite a few. The insulation is like 1.5. That's ridiculous. And then obviously people are going to complain about, hey, you know, it's hot. So of course it is. You don't have a lot of insulation. So our roof system reflects a lot more UV light than any other system because it's designed for that. It's a commercial roof. That's what it's designed to do. All right, let's get to work. Well, we got the roof deck down. We glued it all. And you're looking at it going, hey, that's the same crappy roof deck. And it is. You see all the glue we put in here. So everything's all glued and screwed. The reason why we went back with this roof deck is because there's absolutely nothing wrong with it except for it looking ugly. So instead of leaning on somebody's wallet to put on fresh plywood, that's the same thing, same exact thing, we're gonna just put this back on and save them some money. What we are going to do though is we're going to clad over this with a piece of Luan, just a thin piece to just get it smooth. That's all. Because you got a little bit of this little nonsense right here from the glue, from the previous glue. It just, you can see it. So these are just little chips. But all that little stuff, like I said, we're just gonna clad over it. And then it'll be nice and clean for us to put our roof on. And it's gonna save him some money. If there was something wrong with it, I would have just trashed it. But there was, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. I checked it all over. It just looks ugly. So nobody cares what it looks like up underneath the roof, as long as it's structurally sound. So we did get the blown in insulation. I did get that tucked in there, but then I got busy and I wasn't able to come up here and video it to show all the blown in that we put. And that's all it is. All we do is just tuck it up underneath. I've shown it on other videos how we do that. And all that does is, you know, because you got the insulation laying on top and there's nothing really between that ductwork in the ceiling. So I just wanted to put something in there and get that nice cold air just moving where it should. So we've got all that done. Then we're going to have our, this is a skylight. We're going to have our, this is part of our ductwork that we got in here. That's part of our ductwork that goes over here. And there's another piece. So we're going to put that in there. There's going to be a fan. We're going to clad this all out with aluminum as well. So we'll get on that. And then, like I said, we're going to be putting everything else down. So far so good. We obviously got to get the shoulders back on, but all the wiring, everything looks good. Everything looked awesome. So we're ready to get this thing kind of put back together. So, and these are some of the stuff. You saw how many breaks there are in this particular coach. There's the mobile suites. There's a lot of breaching in the ductwork. And a lot of companies aren't going to do that for you. So, you know, I know folks watch these, and I generally put these videos together for the customers so they can see all the work we did. And this particular customer, he came all the way from Texas, and we really appreciate that. And again, it doesn't even matter if you came from around the corner from us, but we're going to give it 100% every single time. But I want to look and find these little things that may be a problem down the road. So all that ductwork, we'll say this thing was just sprayed or a roll-on was put on it. They're not going to pull up the plywood. You know, they'd be like, wow, that thing's great, just rock and roll. You know, go ahead and spray it. Well, you saw how many breaches there were. So now down the road, those breaches get bigger because they're always going to get bigger. The more air goes through it, the more tape loosen up, so on and so forth. So now the owner's like, hey, my air conditioner isn't blowing that cold air anymore. Well, what's going on? So a tech comes up and sells them an air conditioning unit, 2 of them, or whatever. I don't know what they're running now, but I think they're about $1,500 bucks. So we'll say he's into it for $3,000 or $4,000 with labor. I don't know, tax and everything else. And that's not going to solve the problem. So he calls the tech back and says, hey, that didn't solve the problem. If he's not going to come back and give him his money and give him those new air conditioners back, they're not going to do that. It's hard to find all those breaches. You'd have to have an endoscope, but how are you going to get at it? And there was so many. It wasn't like there was just one. There was several. So you're going to have to, tear up your whole entire ceiling, or you're tearing the roof off. So this is why we do the work the way we do. I don't want anybody paying twice. We look for stuff that are common problems that we've come across before. So years ago, when we started getting into this, whatever, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, when we started doing them, we really didn't take all the roof deck up. We were like, hey, it looks good like everybody else. Let's just put it down. And then when we started realizing when we were doing some decking that had issues, so we took it up, we noticed ductwork was failing. Well, then I was like, every single one of them are coming up now, you know, because it's a common theme. So that's why we do it. And we also get rid of that cheap OSB and we put plywood on. So, you know, I don't want anybody to have to pay twice or have to deal with another issue with this roof. It should be done and done, like insulation, wires, ductwork, everything. Let's get it done and done, and you don't have to mess with anything up in this so-called attic area again. All right, so like I said, next thing is the shoulders, and we'll be getting some of that. And then I'm looking down here, like I'm looking at, like this got a little curve, so I may have to make some blocks up to kind of bridge that. So when I put my shoulders on here, that's what these are called, these shoulders. When we put them on, that I'm not getting this wave and kinking into it. So I'm going to try and do the best I can. So that's what I was looking at while I was talking in the camera, because I want it to look nice and clean and sharp. So, all right, well, let's get to it. Once we got all the decking down, we cladded over it with another piece of Luan. And that's just to give us a smooth roof deck, because I didn't want to see any lumps or clumps or anything up underneath the roofing. On the other side, I was showing you some fluctuation in the plywood. And that's just the way plywood is. Sometimes you'll have it kind of swirly. So what we did is we put these little blocks in here, and that's to balance it out. So when I put the shoulders on, the shoulders are going to be proper, and I won't have them doing this dance going down the roof. So we did them on both sides. So we took the curse out of it that we had a dip, and that's what we did. So we'll obviously we're going to get that other side done, and then from there we can start getting the roofing on. Well, we got the passenger side. We've already got all that glued, and we're going to wait for this to flash off, and we're going to roll this out. It's pretty close to it. It's got to be tacky, but that's still looking a little gold, so it's got to flash off a little bit more. Then we can roll it over. When you see some of these campers as you're going down the road, you'll see the roofing puffing up. That's because the RV industry and these techs are so cheap that what they do is they just put the glue on the roof deck and they do not put it on the membrane. The glue is a contact adhesive. That's important because basically the glue is sticking to itself. So this is the way you would do a fully adhered system on a commercial roof. So, and that's the way we do them. This isn't coming up. This son of a gun's going to stay stuck. So once it's ready, we're going to roll it out. We didn't need to put the strips in here. Sometimes you'll see I put protective strips in there, and sometimes on the plywood they're kind of proud. So when we overlaid it with this glue on here to get a nice smooth deck, boy, those joints come out awesome. So we didn't need to do that. So now the next thing to do is again just roll it over, and by that time we can start getting the holes all cut out and start getting our curves on. And so we are now going to wash the air conditioners. We're going to clean them out. Cover comes off. There's your evaporator coil. See all that booger? All that dust and land? All that's got to go. Then down inside, down in there, there's a tray. So the way the air conditioner works, your cold air comes up, or your cabin air comes up here, goes through the evaporator, and then this squirrel fan right here blows it back down. So when this gets dirty right here, the evaporation can get all clogged up in a sense where you can, it won't perform right. You're not going to get all that cold air. So, and it could cause a freezing on here as well because it's just sitting there. So these are real easy to, this wire right here is a thermocouple, thermoresistor. Basically, it's a freeze thaw, so if it gets too cold, it shuts off. But what we're going to do is clean it. So if this gets all filled up with water because it can't drain properly, and there's your drain port right here. It's actually right here. So if it gets built up, you get all this debris in there, water can build up in here, and then the fan's going to pull it through, and it'll spin it, right? Throw it right back down into your coach. And then you say, hey, I got a leak. So we don't want to have all that. So you want to keep these clean. It's not hard. Some techs are out here doing this no rinse. I don't believe in a no rinse because the no rinse doesn't do anything. All that trash is going back down in here. Now all of these different ports, and all we're using is just some foam and bubbles, you can see. It's just great value, I think, at the Walmart brand. So this porthole looks pretty good, meaning the size wise. Some of the other ones aren't, and all it takes is a little bit of debris to get in there and clog it up, and then when it clogs up, so that's why I don't like the no rinse, because all this stuff here, no rinse, if this stuff does clean off and wash down and fall in there and clog up that hole, so now here comes your tech, oh, I'm going to clean it for you, and he just, squirts that stuff on there and rinses it. He's probably going to charge you a service call, probably a fee to do it, maybe $300 a unit or something, and now you got your air conditioners leaking in your coach, and now you have to call him back. Hey, I got a leak in my air conditioner. Oh yeah, because your tray is clogged. He's going to hit you again with another service call and another high dollar fee. Most of these techs are trying to get as much as a shop, an actual RV shop. So that's upwards of $200 an hour. That's ridiculous. So these are real easy. If you're going to do them yourself, this particular one unbolted from the roof. That's what these lags are for. They bolted it right down this way. When I say roof mount, that's what I mean, is that they're mounted right to the roof like that. Other ones have bolts inside the ceiling. You'll take off the filter box and you'll see a metal plate undo those bolts in each corner, and then it pops off. So you would want to get like a welcome mat or something. You can get those real cheap. All these Walmart or wherever, dollar store, you're getting something real cheap, so you can lift this up so the frame doesn't get into your roof and cause a leak. All right, so you can just move it aside. I wouldn't recommend doing this with not taking the unit off, because for two reasons. One, you can get water back down into your coach. Not a good thing. And two, you want to take this off and you really want to check that gasket. So if you've already changed the gasket, then it's still smart to really check them, because when those gaskets fail, they're going to destroy your roof, and it's going to be chronic. You're not going to know it until you know it. So we're going to so this one here, it looks like it's a little different than the other one. See, this tray is a little different than that one. It's a little different. So that's what we're going to check out. And all we do is just take that brush. You can see we've got the brush. We're just going along. And then we got a hose right here. And we're going to flush it out. It's literally that simple. So this is what we're looking for, the gasket. See the gasket missing? The gasket is missing. So that's what we're looking for. That's the other problem that I have with a lot of these spray and roll-on roofs. They'll put the gasket on, and people say, well, I got a new gasket. It should be good. I'll never have any issues. These need to be up on a curb, and that's why we do them. Let me move over here a little bit. Look at here. That's a leak. And they're all the same way. These ones are, 4 pieces. They just glue them. So these corners are going to leak right there. And it's going to get in there. It's going to rot out your roof deck. It's going to be chronic. It's going to be little droplets. It's going to be little droplets. So obviously we're going to replace that. So that's why you want to check all this stuff. So the dirt, debris, and pollen like all this here, when it gets up underneath there, it dries out that gasket and it'll cause it to fail. So that's all we're doing. It's literally that simple. Let's see if this one's like. Oh, it's stuck pretty good. Is it hooked on something? There we go. So this one doesn't look as bad as the other one, but it's still got the 4 pieces, see? See? Still got 4 pieces. So that's what's going to cause your leak. You don't want to have that happen. So, but again, if you had like a spray on roof, like I say, all that water is going to come in here because it's still on the roof. You need to have it elevated and protect that gasket. That's very important. So, just keep that in mind. So now all we do is just take the hose. We're going to flush these out. There's that hose. We got enough slack on this thing. So I like to try to see it coming through the other side. That tells me we're getting it. We're going to rinse all this out. Now on some of the other ones, those portholes, if they're really small, I drill them out a little bit. So now I'm going to come back this way. There you go. You can see them come through now. Well, it may take a minute to clean it out really good, but once you do, it's because we're losing water pressure for some reason. But we're going to go around and clean it just like that. It's really that simple. So, and then you replace the gasket, and you should be good. Same thing with this one. I'm just going to try and make sure we get it flushed out there. Okay. Now, again, that's as easy as it is. So no reason to give some guy $300 that isn't going to do a good job. That's just nonsense. That's what these techs do. And then they won't, like you said, especially with that no rinse. That's what I don't like, that no rinse. It's just lazy. When you get lazy, you're just avoiding something else. So that's what we're going to do, clean them up. We get them back on the coach. Change the gaskets. All right, so we've got the roof is done, but now what we're doing, taking off the roofing on the slides. We're going to put metal on there. So what you're looking at, that kind of yellowish stripe. On the side here you can see there's a flange. They call that a flange. It's a fascia. There's another one that goes on top, and that's the underside of it. That's what you're looking at. It's right there. So we took them all out. We got to peel the roofing off. We're going to do all three, and we're going to put metal on there. So I've got a couple of them already fabricated up. We do these by hand. These are all handmade. So we're going to get it to fit like a glove. And then the other thing we're going to fix is way down here where that termination bar goes in. I'm going to take that out and we're going to fabricate a different one. So one that'll have basically what's called a rake. It'll have a slope and it'll kind of be angled, so when the water comes down the slide, the water will drool away from the slide. Alright, so that's what we're working on right now, but otherwise everything is pretty much all together, but we got so much stuff up there I can't do the the video on the roof yet. We're getting there. Then we're going to go around, we're going to caulk everything and caulk it all up, at least double check it. A lot of it seems okay, a little discolored, but there's nothing wrong with it. So we'll go around, check everything, all these little screws that go in, like these turn bars. These are called turn bars, but all those little screws, there's a whole bunch of them. Some in the slide, you can see them on the slide right there, the screws. All those, we're going to back them out a little bit and we'll get some caulking behind them. Our mobile suites is sick, got some issues. Got some rot. My little, I thought I had a flashlight. I have to go get a flashlight. It's all rotted. Right in here, I don't know what, maybe not quite 2 foot back. It seems okay. But the thing that really sucks about this is what you're looking at right there. What do you think that is? If you said a dryer, you would be correct. There's a washer and dryer in here. It's got a platform, so the way all the plumbing and electrical run up inside there. So it's a little bit of work. So that's what we're trying to figure out the best way to do it and go about it. And that's what we got. Some sickness. Look at here. They sound even right either. Squirrely. These are all the screws. These are the screws I took out. Look at them. Now most of them, the heads you just pop right off, like this one and this one. And then that one's all rusted, but all of them, they're all just junk. Alright, let me see what I can do. We're doing a lot of work to it. We got the metal roofs already done for the top of the slides. And then, you know, we go back around. Now on the slides, when we do them, there's another piece right that goes right here. It looks like this. That's the piece that goes there. Well, it's not that piece, it's a similar piece. But if you look, see right here, this is where water, obviously water got in this thing that way, but more so probably got in through the screws. But when the water comes down, it's going to hit and trickle back in. So when we do these, I'm going to make this one really wide, and it'll go down and narrow. So when the water comes down, it'll be encouraged to go out instead of in. So, and that was why I took that piece off. And when I did, I noticed all this other nonsense. So, all right, well, let's get to work. So we've got some rotted floor issues. You can see that thing is just junk. And what they did is they screwed it down from the top. I don't know if you can see this. Here they are. Here's a screw right here. They screwed it from the frame inside and put it all together. So, anyhow, we're going to pop this out, but you can see just how bad it is. I mean, so just, we're going to take it out. We'll rebuild the floor. I mean, it's not a big deal. We know what we're doing here. That's what we do. We're pros. But all this is a washer. See, that's the dryer. And there was a washer right here. Washer, dryer. And then the bed goes over here. So we got all that freed up. We'll pull it down. We'll get it out. And then once we get it out, we'll rebuild it. We are all done with our mobile suites. We put these tags on here. So if he ever goes to sell it, someone isn't going to come up and go, well, I know those RV roofs. You're going to have to replace a roof, try and talk them down. Well, this is still under warranty. So getting into the warranty, the roof system in itself, when they test it in a commercial application, it's 20 years. you're going to see a lot more life out of this roof than 20 years, because RVs, they're not sitting in the sun, they're not sitting in like a commercial building just out in the open like that, right? So usually tucked in the shade, and that's what kills the roof, is the what kills the roof is the UV light. So, but again, this is a 20-year, what they call a 20-year commercial roof membrane. But we'll say 25, maybe even pushing closer to 30 years. If you need to do something, they do make recovery system for it. You don't ever have to pull this roof off. So everything you see on here, even like this logo, that's all welded. The boots are welded, you see, and those are all loaded. And if you look on your camper, you'll see all they do is just you'll have these mounts right here. That'll be there, and they just slobber it around with self-leveling. These things kind of move around a lot, and when they move around, they start loosening up there, and then you get some leaks in there. That's why you want those boots in there. It'll seal it up really nice. That product is like a rubber eraser. It is going to stay like that forever. It is great product. It's all commercial. Everything we use here, this whole system, it's all commercial. We don't use any RV stuff here at all. So the membrane in itself, this is a 60 mil commercial grade TPO. TPO means thermoplastic. I know this is blurring out on me a little bit there. It's a thermoplastic, and thermoplastic allows us to heat weld everything together, much like you would heat weld metal together, right? But instead with metal, you're going to use a medium, like maybe a stick, or you use a wire. This, when you heat it up with a hot air gun, it actually fuses itself back together. So all the product is the white that you see. So it also comes in gray and tan, and those are standard colors that we can put on. We try to put colors on that make the coach look well. That's what we try to do. So we got 2 strikes of caulking all along the side, and the reason why we do 2 strikes of caulking all the way down here, if you've ever operated a caulking gun and you start squeezing, and as you're going along, you'll hear a crackle or a pop, and what you do is just injected an air bubble. So as the coach kind of moves down the road and it's racking, twisting, and flexing a little bit, I don't want that to breach out, and then I potentially have a leak. So my thought is, what are the chances of having one air bubble land on top of another? Probably slim to none. So that's why I do a second strike on top of it. We went around and caulked everything, all the windows, everything. We went and caulked everything, every screw, everything. We went and caulked everything. So once we get the air conditioners on, we got them up on a curb as well. And then the way this one is, this is a roof mount, meaning like you mount it from the roof. If you were to go inside, you won't see a filter box up inside there. So I designed these up so anybody can follow behind us. These are just on the back for some balance, but before they just had those bolts running right down through the roof, and then they slobbered it with self-leveling. That's just not smart. So I put this on here, and then you can see the bolt sticking right there, and that's what's going to hold everything down. Now you can replace this air conditioner the same exact way as you would any other air conditioner. In the front, there's a special plate that I did. So all you have to do is take the cover off. You'll see the 2 plates. You can pull them off. Real easy. I mean, it couldn't be easier. So the front here that you're looking at, this little band, what that is, that's called counter flash. And what that prevents is when the water is coming down and the wind is blowing, it's not blowing it back into that gasket, even though it's sitting up on a curb. And I'll show you what there's a counter flash on the curb as well. And that's why it's to push it down. You can see it's probably, I don't know, maybe 3/8 of an inch up off the roof line, to let that water go past this other counter flash I have up in here. And what a counter flash really is, it's just another flat piece to prevent the water from jumping up on top of the curb. But like I said, I'll show you that in a minute. But they're all, this air conditioner, the other one was the same. The other cover got really damaged. It was all so dry, we had to replace it. So again, all of this here, and if you look at some of the discoloration, it looks like a little shinier spot here and there. That's how much penetration we got with the heat. So the boots, if that falls off, it's just going to leak into the holding tank. So there's no chance of ever getting into the roof system in itself. Then you come into the skylight right here, and we solely glue these down. You can see now there's a lot of issues with these skylights. We also wrapped the inside with aluminum. So if this lens cracks, it's just going to drip right down into the shower. It's not going to get in the roof, not going to get into the curb. It can't get anywhere but into the shower. So then we just glue these solely down. These curbs expand and contract quite a bit. So now in the heat, it's going to expand and it's going to push. If there was a screw here, it would be pushing against it. Then you get a thunderstorm, going to immediately contract it, it's going to pull. So it's doing this push-pull against these screws if they were in there, and that's usually you'll see these little hair fractures that come out from here. So the other thing with these skylight lenses is they do build up condensation, or well, you'll get a frost on here, especially now coming into the winter. You'll start noticing you'll get some frost on the top. Well, not only is it on the top, it's actually on the inside of this. So this whole piece, inside and outside, has, you know, some dew or frost on it. So now the sun comes up and it'll evaporate this off. Boom, it's gone. But what's on the inside can't get evaporated, so it diffuses down to condensation and it'll just drool right down in here. We don't want that. That causes dry rot. So what I did was I put a trough in here. There's a piece of ductwork in there. There's a piece of ductwork in here. And this is a solar fan. So now when the sun comes up to heat this, and you know, the sun comes up, evaporates that condensation, frost, whatever, not condensation, but the frost and dew off of the top of the lens, that's already kicking on, and it's pulling some air through here. You have an inner lens and you have this lens. So you have that cavity in there, and it's going to pull it up and cycle it out. It's going to keep constant air in there. The other thing it'll do is it'll keep this whole area cooler. A lot of people complain about how much heat these things generate, and it's like an oven in there, and they'll get these little pillows and things like that to put up in there to try to keep the heat from radiating down into the coach. Well, this is going to solve that problem. It's going to keep the heat out of there. It's going to keep flowing. So this is a counterflash that I was talking about right here. See? So now, as the water is coming across, you get caught in a heavy storm. As the water is coming across, it can't jump up on top. It's stifling basically what's known as erosion effect. That's what it's doing. So the air conditioners all have that as well, and that was what I was explaining about that piece on the front. It pushes it down below this, so now it'll trickle down this way on that air conditioner. And we even did them on the fans as well. We did them on everything. We've got galvanized bolts right there. Those are secured into the roof deck. They're not going anywhere at all. So we're pretty much all done with this thing here. Everything's ready to go. We wiped it down, and again, we caulked and sealed every single thing on here. So one of the concerns you have with these air conditioners, and this is why we, especially the air conditioners, but you should have curbs. Curbs are the way you do a roof system. So let me show you something here. All right, I don't know if I already showed you all this, but this is a gasket. So up inside, up underneath there is a foam gasket. This is how the RV industry does it. Matter of fact, this is how everybody in the RV industry does it. It's wrong, but this is how they do it. So what they do is they put this gasket up on top there, they put it down, and that's supposed to keep you watertight. This roof has some slope going down, so you get a lot of dirt, pollen, debris. All of that stuff is going to get in, and it's going to start irritating the gasket. And this piece, you can see it's a 4-piece. This one already broke off. So you can see it's 4 pieces. So even if you had a spray-on roof or a roll-on roof, this is going to apply. This scenario can still happen where the gasket will fail and you're going to get some roof leaks, and it'll get into there and it can rot out your roof deck. And now you're going to take the air conditioner up, you're going to take their product up, and once you get all of that up, then you do your repairs, then you'll have to return to them and have it fixed. They're not solving the problem. So they brag about no leaks, no leaks, no leaks, and then when you read their warranty, especially on like line item number 5, so if you can get their warranty, if they'll give it to you, a lot of them won't even give you a warranty until you finish the job. But on line item number 5, it'll say, we don't guarantee air conditioning leaks or antenna leaks. The customer is responsible for inspection of their air conditioner gaskets and or replacement. So they're throwing all that on you. They're saying you take care of it. Well, why did you go to them in the first place? Because you don't want any leaks. You want to be done with all of this, right? Well, that's where we come in, and we took care of your problem. It's done. We won't have an issue. All done. So this is where you're going to get your leaks. See that little gap? You're going to get a little, it's going to be chronic. This is going to be slow. It's going to be slow. So eventually you're like, after a while, when you start seeing it inside, the roof deck sucked up all the water it could. The insulation, it soaked up all the water it could. The framing, if it's wood, is going to soak up all the water it can. Go down to the ceiling panel. It'll sit there for a while until the ceiling panel soaks up what it can, until it finally starts coming through that paper. By the time you see all that, you're already soaked all the way up in here. So you've got some damage in there. Again, you're going to have to tear all their product up. So, you know, I like to pass this along. The reason why we do the roofs we do is because this is the right way and the best way to do them. I would just go out and buy the machine. So my background, my trade, I am not an RV guy by trade in that sense. I am formerly a licensed commercial general contractor. So I fell into these here after I sold that company. But my point is that when we did do commercial work, I had those big sprayers that did recovery systems. That's what they're known. They're recovery systems to do like these metal roofs on here on the building. You know, and you can do a whole host of different types of roof systems, all sorts of flat roof systems, and they can be effective. We bought the machine. That's what we did. We also had another machine that rolled out standing seam metal. So we maintained 600 restaurants east of the Mississippi. All that said, if those spray on roof systems, if they were worth it, I'd just go buy the machine and do it. But you can see when we open these up, when we take all the decking off and we inspect up underneath there, we're routinely finding you know, ductworks that have failed. We're finding electrical that isn't protected. We're finding lack of insulation. All of those things need to be addressed before you put a roof on. So the other issue with the polyurea, that's what that spray on roof is. It's a polyurea. The other problem is it doesn't like moisture. So it's not really a speedy type of system, because in order to prevent the moisture, they do have to put down a special base primer to make sure it's not going to wick up any moisture. If you have a foam roof and you go and have that sprayed and you don't correct the underlying moisture in a foam roof like a Class C or a Class A, you could have some other issues with that polyurea. Like I said, if it was worth it, I would just go buy the machine. So it's not like I'm opposed to the actual polyurea. I'm not opposed to the actual product in itself. I think it's pretty good, but I just think it's the wrong application for what you're trying to do with an RV long term, right? And also to correct issues. So we'll say you had a vent that got broke, much like your skylight over there. If they got broke, you gotta tear up all their product. Once you tear it all up, you gotta make replace what you need to, and then go back to them. That is a proprietary blend that they have that they are not going to give you. They're not going to give you any of that product for you to do it yourself. So you're going to travel back to them for that. And there's a lot of different polyureas out there. And what they do is they take it and they just tweak it just a little bit so they can say, hey, that's ours. Much like cola. Cola is a good example because you have Coke, Pepsi, RC Cola. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different colas out there. And they all have a little different tweak in their recipe where it's still called cola, but obviously it tastes just a little bit different. It's the same thing with it's the same thing even with TPO membranes. It's the same thing, because this particular brand is Carlisle. So, but GAF makes it. Duralast has some. Genflex, Firestone, John Mansfield. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them that have it. So you couldn't necessarily take those materials and heat weld them to this, even though they're both TPO. So my point is that that's a proprietary blend for them. They are not going to give that to you. You can find this anywhere in the country. You can find it anywhere at all. I mean, everybody has it. Carlisle's a huge company. They've been in business for like 100 years. So I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon. That's for sure. So, but so keep that in mind when you, like I said, when you decide who wants to do your roof. I also want to take a moment to thank the customer for coming all this way. He drove 800 miles all the way from Texas for us to put this roof on, and I am honored that he did. And that's another reason why we take the time to do things right. I want to make sure I address all his problems, get everything. So what's the sense of putting a roof on and then you have other burps, right? And he's going to say, hey, I got a problem with my air conditioner not blowing cold air. Well, that's something we could have remedied for him because you fixed the ductwork. But everybody just wants to get your money. They get their hand out for it. They want your money. They want the numbers. You know, a lot of these companies, they're just into it for the numbers. How many did we deliver? How many did we do? You know, that's all it is to them. So to them, it's like boasting. Hey, we did whatever, 300 campers this year. You know, we did one a day, we'll say, whatever, 365. And what good is that if you didn't do them properly? You say, we obviously aren't doing 365 a year, but you can see again all of the issues that we addressed, even like on these slide outs, how I showed how we took the time to countersink all of those holes so we could put different screws in. You're not going to get that with any other company. Matter of fact, even a spray company, they're not going to do your slide out roofs. Just let you know that. They can't do that. They can't do the structural repairs we do. So You know, they'll probably replace a couple sheets of plywood or OSB, which I'm sure is going to be a hefty price. But pound for pound, if they did exactly what we did, all the work we did, they'd be a lot more expensive than we are. But so this is the actual roofing right here. And this is what's called a 60 mil TPO, and it's a structured membrane. Actually, there's a piece of the mesh. There's a mesh that's built into it right here. It's a nylon mesh that's built into it, and you can probably see those little squares. It's like a screen. That's what prevents and helps against hail and tree branches and things like that. The spray-on roofs, they have to spray them that thick, because if they don't, it doesn't have a structure to it. There's no structure to it. So that's why they have to put them on as thick as they are. You don't really need it like that if you had a real membrane. So then we also replaced all the insert trim right here along the gutter. Let's see what that is. I'll show you that. Let's see if I can find it in my dirty shop. Now, I don't sell anything here. We don't sell anything at all. I have to buy this stuff 2 miles at a time, but you can see that groove in there. See how it fits? So it locks it in. So normally what they're using is like this. See how that just slides around? But water can still get into that track down in there. And a lot of times, even other shops have shown how you can get all sorts of debris and pollen and mold and everything in there. This locks everything out. That's why I like it. But I have to buy it at 2 miles at a time. Almost literally, it's 10,000 linear feet. So that's a lot of product. But right now, we're not set up to do any sales or anything at all like that. We don't. These aren't necessarily DIYs. We put these together so folks can kind of get an idea of the work we do, but also for the, really more so for the customer, so the customer can see all the work we did. We don't sell any like curbs. We don't sell any of that at all. We don't quote on social media. So if you know, if you got any questions, you know, just reach out to us, and you can give us a call. Probably the best way. Give us a call. You can even go to our website, send us an email or whatever, and we'll help you out with your project. Some of them, you know, there's a lot of differences in what's going on with different coaches, so it's hard to just say, oh yeah, yours is going to be X dollars and this is going to be that, you know. Well, we appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next package. Right. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. What you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. You squeeze, squeeze. You're going to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Get some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? No, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. And you're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. I can get my fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape, that's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails, probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. It doesn't all sit in there. You can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.